So, concerning the accusations of my first accusers against me, this is enough defense for you. But against Meletus, the good and patriotic, as he says, and the later ones, I shall try to defend myself next. Once more, as these are other accusers, let us take up their affidavit. It goes something like this. It says that Socrates does wrong by corrupting the youth, and by not believing in the gods the state believes in, but in other new gods. Such is the charge, but let us examine each one of the charges. He says that I do wrong by corrupting the youth. But I, Athenian men, say that Meletus does wrong because in a serious matter he jokes by frivolously bringing lawsuits against people, claiming to be serious and concerned about these things which he has never cared about. That this is so I will also try to make clear to you. And tell me here, Meletus, is it not so that you consider it important how the youth are to be most improved? I do. Come now, tell me who makes them better, for clearly you know, since you care. For you have found out who corrupts them, as you said. You bring me before this court and accuse me. Now come tell who makes them better, and inform these who it is. Do you see, Meletus, that you are silent, and have nothing to say? Yet does it not seem to you to be shameful, and a sufficient indication of what I say, that you don't care at all? But speak, good one, who makes them better? The laws. But this is not what I asked, excellent one, but what person, who first knows even this thing, the laws? These, Socrates, the judges. What are you saying, Meletus? Are they able to educate the youth and make them better? Certainly. Which, all? Or some of them and not others? All. Well said, by Hera, and you speak of great abundance of helpers. What about these? Do the listeners make them better or not? These also. And what about the senators? Also the senators. But Meletus, do the members of the assembly corrupt the youth, or do they also make them better? They also. So all Athenians, as it seems, make them fine and good, except me, but I alone corrupt them. Is this what you mean? I mean it very seriously. You condemn me to great misfortune. And answer me, does it also seem to you to be thus concerning horses? Are all people making them better, but a certain one is corrupting them? Or is it the opposite of this all, a certain one who makes them better? Or very few, the horse trainers? But most, if they deal with and use horses, do they not injure them? Is this not so, Meletus, both concerning horses and all other animals? Surely it is, whether you and Anytus say so or not. For what a great blessing it would be for the youth, if one alone corrupts them while the others help them. But, Meletus, you demonstrate well enough that you never considered the youth, and you show clearly your carelessness, that you have not cared at all about the things on which you bring me into court. Furthermore, tell us, in the name of Zeus, Meletus, which is better, to live among good citizens or bad ones? My friend, answer, for I am not asking anything difficult. Do not the bad work some evil always to those nearest them, but the good some good? Certainly. Then is there anyone who wishes to be harmed by associates rather than be helped? Answer, good one, for the law requires you to answer. Is there anyone who wishes to be harmed? Of course not. Then do you bring me here into court for corrupting the youth and making them worse, intentionally or unintentionally? Intentionally, I say. What then, Meletus? Are you so much wiser at your age than I at my age, that you have recognized that the evil work some evil always to those nearest them, and the good some good, while I have become so unlearned that I am ignorant of this? That if I make any of my associates wicked, I am in danger of receiving something evil from one, so that I do evil such as this intentionally, as you say? I am not persuaded of these things by you, Meletus, and I don't think any other person is either. But either I do not corrupt, or if I do corrupt, then unintentionally, so that either way you are lying. But if I corrupt unintentionally, for such involuntary errors, the law is not to bring one into court here, but to take one privately to teach and admonish him. For clearly, if I learn, I will stop what I do unintentionally. But you avoided associating with me and would not teach me, and brought me here, where the law is to bring those needing punishment, not learning. But now, Athenian men, this is clear what I said, that Meletus never cared much nor little about these things. Nevertheless, tell us how it is you say I corrupt the youth, Meletus. Or is it evident that, according to the indictment which was written, it is by teaching them not to believe in the gods, which the state believes in, but in other new divinities? Do you not say that by teaching these things I corrupt them? Yes, I definitely say these things. Well then, before these very gods, Meletus, of whom we are now speaking, explain even more clearly both to me and these men, for I am unable to learn whether you mean that I teach them to believe there are some gods, and I myself then believe that there are some gods, and I am not a complete atheist, nor wronging in that way, not those, however, of the state, but different, and this is what you accuse me of, that they are different. Or whether you say I myself do not believe in the gods at all, and teach these things to others. I mean the latter, that you do not believe in the gods at all. You surprise me, Meletus. Why do you say this? Then do I not believe that the sun and moon are gods, like other people do? No, by Zeus, he does not, judges, since he says that the sun is a stone, and the moon earth. Do you think you are accusing Anaxagoras, dear Meletus? And do you so despise them and think they are unlettered, that they do not know that the books of Anaxagoras of Clazomene are full of these ideas? And what is more, the youth learn these things from me, which it is possible at times, if too much, to buy for a drachma from the theatre, laughing at Socrates, even if he claims they are his own, especially since they are so absurd. But before Zeus, does this seem to you that I am not believing in any god? No, by Zeus, none, not in the least. You are unbelievable, Meletus, and even as you seem to me, to yourself. For he seems to me, Athenian men, to be very insolent and reckless, and actually to have written this indictment out of some youthful insolence and recklessness. For it is like composing a riddle for a test. Will the wise Socrates understand my game and my contradictory meaning, or will I deceive him and the other listeners? For this, he says, appears to me to be the opposite of what is in his indictment, as if he were saying, Socrates is wrong not believing in gods, but believing in gods. And yet this is jesting. Consider then, men, what it appears to me he is saying, and you answer us, Meletus. And you people, as I asked you at the beginning, remember not to interrupt me if I make the argument in my accustomed manner. Is there a person, Meletus, who believes there are human things, but does not believe there are people? Let him answer, men, and do not let him interrupt in one way or another. Is there anyone who does not believe in horses, but believes in the business of horsemen? Or who does not believe there are flute players, but believes in the business of flute players? There is not, excellent man, even if you do not wish to answer. I say it for you in these others. But answer at least this. Is there anyone who believes there are divine things, but does not believe in divinities? There is not. Thanks for answering reluctantly by compulsion of these. Then you say I both believe in and teach divinities, whether new or old. But then I believe in divinities according to your meaning, and you also swore this in your indictment. But if I believe in divinities, surely I must also believe in the divine. Is this not so? It is, for I assume you agree, since you do not answer. But do we not think that divinities are either gods or children of gods? Do you say yes or no? Certainly. Then if I believe in divinities, as you say, if divinities are gods, this would be the riddle and the game I mention. You are saying that not believing in gods, I believe in gods again, since I believe in divinities. If, on the other hand, divinities are bastard children from nymphs or from any others, whoever they are said to be, what person would think they are children of gods, but not gods? For it would be just as absurd as if one thought there are children of horses and asses, namely mules, but did not think there are horses and asses. But, Meletus, surely you are testing us writing this charge, or else you doubt you could blame me with a real crime. You cannot persuade any person having even small intelligence that it is possible for the same person to believe in both divinities and deities, and at the same time not the divine, nor gods, nor heroes. There is no way. But really, Athenian men, as I am not wrong according to Meletus' charge, it does not seem to me to be much defense, but even these things are enough. And what I said before, how much hatred there is against me, and from many people, you well know what is the truth. And this is what will convict me, if I am convicted. Not Meletus nor Anytus, but the prejudice and envy of many. What has also convicted many other good men, I know will convict again, and there is no danger of it stopping with me. Then perhaps someone might say, then are you not ashamed, Socrates, of following such a pursuit from which you are now in danger of being executed? But to this I should make a just argument. You do not speak well, sir, if you think a man in whom there is even small merit must consider danger of life or death, rather than looking at this alone, whenever he acts, whether he does right or wrong, and the works of a good or evil man. For in your argument, the demigods who died at Troy would be mean, and especially the son of Thetis, who so despised danger compared to undergoing disgrace, that when his mother, being a goddess, spoke to his eagerness to kill Hector, something like this, I think, Child, if you avenge the death of your friend Patroclus and kill Hector, you yourself shall die, for at once, she said, after Hector your fate is ready. But having heard this, he made little of death and danger, but feared much more a cowardly life, which would not avenge his friends. At once, he said, may I die, after putting justice on the wrongdoer, so that I may not remain here laughed at by the curved ships, a burden on the land. Do you think he thought of death and danger? For there you have the truth, Athenian men. Wherever someone stations himself, believing it is best, or stationed by his leader, he must be there, as it seems to me, remaining without considering either danger or death or anything else before disgrace. Therefore I should have done a terrible thing, Athenian men, if, when the commanders stationed me, whom you chose to command me, both at Potidaea and at Amphipolis, and also Delium, I remained where they stationed me like anyone else, even in danger of death. And being stationed by the god, as I thought and understood, I must live loving wisdom and examining myself and others. I were to leave the station at this point out of fear of either death or any other business whatsoever. It would be terrible, and truly then someone might justly bring me into court, because I do not believe there are gods, disobeying the oracle, and afraid of death, and thinking myself wise when I am not. For to be afraid of death, men, is nothing other than seeming to be wise when one is not. For it is seeming to know what one does not know. For no one knows whether death happens to be the greatest good of all for a person, but it is feared as if one knows well that it is the greatest of all evils. And is this ignorance not the most reprehensible which thinks one knows what one does not? But I, men, on this point also perhaps differ from most people in that even if I were to say that I am wiser, it would be in this, that not knowing enough about Hades, so also I do not think I know. But to wrong and disobey the best, both divine and human, that I know is evil and shameful. Thus before the evils which I know are evil, I shall never fear nor flee what I don't know, since it may happen to be good. So if you acquit me now, unconvinced by Anytus, who said either I should not have been brought here at all, or since I was brought it was necessary to execute me, saying before you that, if I were acquitted, your sons will all be completely corrupted by pursuing what Socrates teaches, if you were to say to me in addition, Socrates, now we are not convinced by Anytus, but acquit you, on this condition, however, that you no longer in this way seek to discuss nor philosophize, and if you are caught doing this again, you shall die. Then if, as I said, you were to acquit me on this condition, I should say to you, Athenian men, I respect and love you, but I shall obey the god rather than you. And while I breathe and am able, I shall not stop philosophizing and urging you and demonstrating whenever I happen to meet you, saying, as I am accustomed, Best of men, being an Athenian of the greatest city, and famous for wisdom and power, are you not ashamed, caring for money, how it is for you the most important, and reputation, and honor? But you do not care and think about intelligence and truth, and the soul, how it is the best. And if any of you objects and says he does care, I shall not let him go at once, nor shall I go away, but I shall question and examine and test him. And if it seems to me that he does not possess virtue, but only appears to, I shall reproach him for making the things most worthy of importance least, and the worst things most important. I shall do these things to both the young and old, whenever I happen to meet them, and to stranger and citizen, but especially the citizens, as you are more nearly related to me. For know well God commands these things, and I think that no greater good has ever come to the city than my service to the god. For I go around doing nothing else than persuading you both young and old not to care about the body nor money more seriously than for the soul, how it is most virtuous, saying, Virtue does not come from money, but from virtue money and every other good thing, for people both individually and collectively. Thus, if saying these things I corrupt the youth, these things would be harmful. But if someone says that I mean anything other than this, it has no meaning. In reference to this, I would say, Athenians, either be convinced by Anytus or not, and acquit or not acquit. But I will not do anything else, not even if I have to die many times. Do not interrupt, Athenian men, but hold to what I requested of you, not to interrupt what I say, but listen. For surely I think you will benefit by listening. For I intend now to say some other things to you, at which you will perhaps cry out, but by no means do this. For know well, if you kill me, I being what I say, you will not do greater harm to me than to yourselves. For neither Meletus nor Anytus will harm me, they cannot. For I do not think that it is divine will for a better man to be harmed by a worse. He might kill, however, or perhaps banish or disenfranchise. But by these things perhaps he and some others might think somehow this is a great evil. But I don't think so. Rather a much greater one is what he is doing now, attempting to put a man to death unjustly. So now, Athenian men, more than on my own behalf must I defend myself, as some may think, but on your behalf, so that you may not make a mistake concerning the gift of God by condemning me. For if you kill me, you will not easily find another such person at all, even if to say in a ludicrous way, attached on the city by the god, like on a large and well-bred horse by its size and laziness, both needing arousing by some gadfly. In this way the god seems to have fastened me on the city, some such one who arousing and persuading and reproaching each one of you, I do not stop the whole day settling down all over. Thus such another will not easily come to you, men, but if you believe me, you will spare me. But perhaps you might possibly be offended, like the sleeping who are awakened. Striking me, believing Anytus, you might easily kill. Then the rest of your lives you might continue sleeping, unless the God caring for you should send you another. That I happen to be such who is given by the God to the city, you may understand from this. For it does not seem human that I have neglected all my own affairs, and enduring this neglect of family for years, but always attending to yours, coming privately to each one like a father or older brother, persuading you to care about virtue. And if I enjoyed something from these things, and received pay for urging them, it might make some sense. But now you surely see that even these, the accusers, though accusing everything so shamelessly, have not become so shameless as to produce a witness that I ever either required or requested pay of anyone. For I think I present an adequate witness, as to the truth I say, my poverty. Perhaps then it may seem absurd that I privately go around advising these things and meddling, but publicly do not dare to stand up in your assembly to advise the state. But the reason for this, which you have heard me say many times and in many places, is that some godly and spiritual thing comes to me, a voice, which also Meletus ridiculed in the indictment he wrote. And this is some voice that began coming to me in childhood, which when it comes always turns me away from what I am intending to do, but never leads me on. This is what opposes my practicing politics. And it seems to me to oppose quite beautifully. For know well, Athenian men, if I had undertaken to practice political business, I should have perished long ago, and would not have benefited you nor myself. And don't be offended at the truth I am saying, for the fact is that any person whatsoever, to be safe, can neither honestly oppose you nor another assembly, nor prevent many injustices and illegalities in the state. But it is necessary in really fighting for justice, if one intends to be safe for even a short time, to be private rather than public. I will present for you important evidence of this, not words, but what you honor, actions. Listen to what has happened to me, so that you may know that I would not yield to anyone contrary to justice from fear of death, but not yielding I would rather perish. I will tell you things commonplace and legalistic, but true. For I, Athenians, never held any other office in the state but senator. And it occurred that my Antiochus tribe presided when you wished to try together the 10 generals who had not taken up the slain from the naval battle, illegally as it seemed to you all afterwards. At that time I alone of those presiding opposed doing anything contrary to the laws and voted against it. And the speakers being ready to indict and arrest me, and you demanding it and shouting, with the law and justice I thought I must run the risk, rather than follow after you in not considering justice, fearing imprisonment or death. And that was when the state was still democratic. But when it became an oligarchy, the 30 in turn, sending for me among 5 in the rotunda, directed us to bring from Salamis Leon the Salaminian, so that he could be executed. And they directed many others often so, wishing to implicate as many as possible in their guilt. However, at that time I again, not by word, but by action, demonstrated that I do not care about death, if it is not too crude to say, none whatsoever. But all my care was to do neither the unjust nor the unholy. For that government did not intimidate me, as powerful as it was, into doing something unjust. But when I went out of the rotunda, the 4 went to Salamis and brought Leon, but I went quietly home. And perhaps I should have died for this, if the government had not been quickly overthrown, and many will be witnesses of these things for you. Then do you think that I would still be alive if I had done public business and acting worthy of a good man, aided what was just, and, as one should, made this most important? Far from it, Athenian men. Neither could any other person. But during all my life, even in public, if I did something, such will appear also the same in private. Never did I yield anything contrary to justice, neither to another nor to any of those whom the ones slandering me say are my students. I never became anyone's teacher, but if someone wants to hear me talking and practicing my own things, whether young or old, I have never objected to anyone. Nor do I converse for receiving money, but not receiving it, and to rich and poor alike I offer my inquiry. And if someone wishes to answer, he may hear what I say. And whether some of these become good or not, I should not rightly bear the blame, since I neither promised anything, nor ever gave anyone any instruction. But if someone says that he ever learned or heard something from me in private which all the others did not, know well that he is not telling the truth.